Hello and welcome back to the channel. A few people have been asking us some questions about the EGR module delete in the tuning box, so I'm going to briefly explain them. I don't need no know-it-alls coming on saying this, that and the other. I'll put a disclaimer in. I'm just going to tell you the best way that I can describe this myself. So I don't need any comments coming on saying this isn't how this is, that's that. I'm just telling you what I know from my experience, and I certainly wouldn't have it fitted in my 19-plate car if I thought there was any damage. So first of all, a few people have mentioned, I'm only going to get into the EGR module in the tuning box here. I'll start on the EGR module. Some people have been turning around and going, since the EGR is deactivated, it can affect your DPF and regeneration. Yes, to a certain degree. If you physically blank, which it's down there, the EGR valve off with a plate. Personally, I've had them blanked off with plates on other cars with DPFs, and I've known them done over 100,000 mile and be perfectly fine. But yes, I wouldn't want this one blanked off as long as it's got the EGR valve in. So, as everybody will know what they look like and what they are, they just plug into your mass airflow meter, your MAF sensor as people call it. And I spoke to the guy who makes these because I was suspicious at first. How do they work? And I've done a bit of research into this and used my diagnostic equipment to find out. Basically, all it does is there's a temperature sensor within this mass airflow which monitors the intake temperature. In cold countries, when the temperatures are too cold, it automatically deactivates the EGR valve. It stops it from working for very cold climates because it'll cause problems for warm up and things like that. And I don't know, I just do know that when in cold countries, you'll find if you live in a cold country where it's like -18 or something, the EGR system will not. It's built into the car's ECU not to function. So all this does is confuses the ECU into thinking that it's -18. And I have actually plugged my diagnostic equipment in, and it does that. But at first I thought, well, hold on, running at -18, that's going to affect all the fuel injection, the timing, crap miles per gallon. But no, it doesn't. It doesn't. The temperature sensor in your mass airflow meter provides a live link to the EGR system, but nothing else. Obviously, you've got your fuel temperature sensor, your coolant temperature sensor. There's also many exhaust temperature sensors, and that is actually as part of your MAF sensor, which is your MAF sensor. You got your MAP sensor. As part of your MAP sensor, there is a temperature which monitors the temperature of the air in the engine. It doesn't make it rev high. It doesn't make it use any more. In fact, it uses a hell of a lot less fuel. So don't worry about that. If it did, it would be pumping out black smoke and God knows what. All it simply does is fools the EGR system into thinking that it's too cold, and it keeps it closed all the time. The car keeps it closed. There's nothing in line with the blank. You can see it there. It's just a vacuum operated one. So it's closed all of the time. And I know this because I've checked the pressures on the exhaust system. In fact, if you want to do it yourself, is a DIY way of doing it. Before you fit this, start the car from cold and put your hand under the exhaust. And you'll feel that there's not much pressure coming out of the exhaust. Because what it's doing is, it's just recirculating all the crap that's meant to be going out the exhaust, round and round and round in the engine. So what it does is, it blocks up all your intake system. It blocks up all the turbo on the compressor side of it and everything. Like that's how your variable vanes and that get stuck on them, all the soot and everything just keeps going round and round. What it is you want all the rubbish that comes out the exhaust to go out the exhaust, into the DPF and out, not getting recirculated round and round. Then the oil inside the system congeals with it and it turns into like horrible black clay stuff. So what I've done with this, I've done it for prevention. Don't expect that people have plugged these in expecting you to get power upgrades and God knows what. No, it does definitely help me miles per gallon. I've gone from 35 up to 40 miles per gallon since I fitted it. But my whole point of this is, with my car, when I bought it only had 6,000 mile on, my EGR valve bar 6,000 mile has been closed. So all that which you can't see, it's just when you come to strip down an engine, you see all this stuff that gathers inside of the engine, which affects so many things negatively against your car. So I've doing mine as prevention, to know that none of that rubbish. If you fit one of an engine with 100,000 mile, you should really clean everything out first. It's pointless. So That's why I fitted mine. Definitely helps fuel economy, definitely helps lower down torque, and preventative wise it stops all the crap getting into the system. Yes, you can blank them off completely and map them out in the ECU, but my car's under warranty, so another great thing with these, if you have any problems, you take them off, you wipe the codes, you take it into the dealer, none of the wiser. So that's with that anyways. I'm trying to think if I've missed anything with that, which people have been asking. Yeah, but the biggest question is, does it affect the EGR, the DPF regenerations? No, that's the thing now. If you put a plate in or you get them mapped out, they will never ever work, ever. So with this system, because it's fooling the EGR system into thinking it's colder than what it is, it allows it to open when it does a regen, because there's nothing physically blanking it or blocking it or deactivating it. So when the car requires to do a regeneration, the EGR valve works perfectly fine as normal. So I'm trying to get as much information here as I can, and you will understand what I'm saying is, before you fit it, put your hand under the exhaust and start it up from cold, and you'll feel the pressure is not very high. The minute you plug this in, go and start it up, and you'll feel it's very high pressure coming out the exhaust. So it's not recirculating all the rubbish back through it. So people are saying, what about the regens? What you'll find is argument's sake, say, I don't know, I'm using this as a totally random figure, say every 1,000 miles it does, say, 5 regens, argument's sake. When you do this, you'll find it'll only need 1 regen per every 1,000 mile. And I've been counting the amount of regens since I fitted this, and it rapidly reduces the amount of regens because there's not as much soot. Believe it or not, EGR valves, people think they're for clean. They're not. All it does, it stops NOx reduction. Yes, it's not good for it, and we shouldn't really be doing it. But I'm sorry to say, one man in his truck isn't going to end the world. So I'm sorry, but I'd rather have my EGR system deactivated, get better miles per gallon, and not knock the engine up. So what you'll find is EGRs can create a lot of... it reduces the emissions, basically, put it simply, but at the same time it can create more soot when they're not operating properly and when things start to get clogged up. So by also fitting this EGR deactivation device, you're prolonging the life of your DPF as well, because you have to do less regenerations, it clogs up less. So anyways, that's enough about that. If anybody wants any more information about this, leave us a comment below and I'll get back to you. Now we're going to get on the tuning box, which is here. The AgriTune box, AgriTune, however you want to say it. It's just a little adjustable box which you can tune to tune it up yourself. I'm going to get this part out the way with first before I get technical with it. Another reason, yes, you can get a remap done where you can gut your DPF out, deactivate it, blank the EGR valve, deactivate it, and then get a straight map put on the car. That's all fair and well, but then you as a user can't control it. If you don't want more power, or you want less power, you want more torque, blah, 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 it's programmed into the computer. There's nothing else more you can do. And obviously, if your car's under warranty, like mine is, if you do a remap, kiss goodbye to warranty. So these boxes are great. Again, you need to take it into the dealer. You have any problems, disconnect it, make sure there's no codes relevant to it. You're fine. They'll never know. So that's the reason I like this. And the second reason I like this is it's completely adjustable. I must admit, I can't be bothered to take it out the box. If you just Google AgriTune box, you'll see what it is you adjust it in a way from A to E in 1 to 9. So naturally A1 is the lowest, and then you go A1, A2, A3 up to A9, then it's B1, B2, B3, etc, up to E9, and E9 is the top one. So I've had mine set at D5 since I had it at C5, then I changed it to D5, and I found it's absolutely perfect. If you whack them up to E9, you can get fault codes coming up for fuel pressure systems, low fuel pressure, because you're overworking things. So I'll leave mine at D5, and the beauty with these boxes is they only work when you push the car. So naturally, if you get a remap done, it's constantly running the car at a higher power. And if you're like me, I drive like a bit of a grander. I don't hoof the truck around. So these boxes only detect when you're putting load on, and then they come into play. So the car runs on its standard ECU system, its standard map, pretty much 80% of the time, if you've got it set at a sensible level like I have. Naturally, if it's on E9, it will be kicking in more often than it should be. And what it is, it's just run a normal map, so you're not doing no damage to your engine, or, you know, I wouldn't say maps do any damage, but they don't do any good either. But these are brilliant, because when required, that's when they kick in, depending on your setting of the box. So if you're starting to go up a hill, if you're overtaking, if you're towing something, they'll kick in and work. But all the rest of the time, it's when your standard Mitsubishi map, so you're not doing no harm to the engine. So how these work, I've already explained the adjustment process of it. What it is, these wires run around, and these are them here, and I love them because if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know it was there. That just fits in. The wiring of this system is very good. It fits in perfectly with the Mitsubishi stuff. And what it does is, there's two wires. You just take your engine cover off. One wire goes to your fuel rail, your high pressure fuel rail. You've got a pressure sensor at the end of it. One goes into there, and the other one goes to your map sensor. Now remember, that's your MAF, your mass airflow sensor, and you've got your map, which is your absolute pressure in the manifold, is like the boost system. That monitors the amount of air coming into the engine. The other one monitors the amount of boost that your turbo is putting on. So the second one plugs into your boost sensor. That's another name for it, N75 and boost sensor and all the rest of it. It's not your vacuum one, it's your manifold pressure sensor. So what I didn't like with these old boxes, which you used to get, if everybody remembers back the old Mark III Mondeos back in like 2002 when the first common rail diesels were coming out, these crude boxes used to just plug into your your high pressure fuel rail, your common rail, hence what all know as a common rail diesel. They used to plug straight into that, and it used to just up the pressure, and it would knock your injectors and everything, and I really didn't like them. They were a crude way of getting more power. But these new advanced boxes, they work on your, like I've said, your map sensor. So your intake, it's basically the pressure that the turbo's putting through the engine, and then it also ups the fuel. So what happens is whatever setting you have that preset to, it detects when the cars start, like say whatever bar it needs, say 1 bar or something daft like that. Anything above 1 bar, it'll kick the box in. I'm using that as an example, by the way, because everything's different. So say you've got your box at a normal setting, it'll run normal up to 1 bar, then when it detects pressure above 1 bar, it kicks the box in. So then it kicks the box in to add to, basically what it does is it manipulates the figures. It makes the car, for example, think it needs more power when it doesn't, but that's the whole point, how you get more power. But at the same time, not like the old boxes, it doesn't just ram loads of fuel into the engine, it also increases your percentages on your wastegate control for your turbo. So as well as increasing using the map sensor, it uses the map sensor to increase the turbo boost, the desired boost from the turbo, and it uses the fuel pressure rail sensor to manipulate the amount of fuel that gets injected. So when you add both them together, it manipulates the boost pressure and the fuel pressure, and in essence, it works exactly the same as getting a remap done, basically. But the beauty is you can take it off whenever you want, you can switch it off whenever you want, and you can adjust it however you want. I personally think it's a cracking idea. So yeah, if anybody wants any more information, well, that thing I just thought I don't know if you've noticed, but I've got the Scout bonnet bra, or like protector guard on, what people were asking about. And these are brilliant as well. I think I already put it on my last channel when I get the bonnet open, that is. 2 seconds, I've tried to do this with one hand. Obviously the gas struts are fantastic, and look how high the bonnet comes up. Great idea. So anyways, thanks for watching. If there's any questions, leave them below. Try to keep the sarcastic ones to a limit. I'm trying to explain in the best way possible for people to understand without getting too technical. But if there's any questions at all, leave a comment in the section below and I'll get back to you. Leave a link, anything, I'll send you a link, anything like that. I'm just trying to help people on the L200 Owners Club. So thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye. Hello, sorry I had to add this bit in to the end of the video because when I had watched it I realised I missed something out. This is in regards to an EGR delete, mapping out an EGR. The only 2 negative effects supposedly that you get when you blank or deactivate an EGR valve is, number 1, it can increase the time it takes for your engine to warm up, because obviously the EGR does actually help the engine in the cold weather to warm up quicker, believe it or not, which I find it very, very, very minimal on any car. And the second thing is what a lot of these people like to go on about, these so-called professionals. They say, I'm saying professionals, people who think they know, but I'll get into that now, is when you blank off an EGR, what it's meant to do is when you recirculate exhaust gas back into the combustion chambers, it's supposed to cool the combustion chambers down, the gases down. But again, it's one of those things which I've never ever found any faults. There's cars of 100,000 mile which have had EGRs blanked off and they've run absolutely perfect. And ask yourself the question, if you go into any professional tuning company who know what they're doing with rolling roads and everything, what's the first thing they do to any diesel? They take the DPF out, they take the EGR out, etc, etc. The first thing all these massive tuning companies, professionals do is take out the EGR valve. They remove it, they deactivate it, and then they remap the car up to crazy power. So there you go, there's the question explained to you. You're not going to do any harm. So they're the only two negative effects which, if you're reading these forums where you've got all these keyboard warriors who think they know everything, yes, it will take slightly longer to warm up, and in the same, it may slightly increase the combustion temperature, but that's actually a better thing for a diesel, especially these L200s, because they run very cold to start with. So it just means in the winter, what you need to trigger a regen is hotter gases, basically. Like it helps aid it, helps clean everything out. And we're not talking here, but we're talking a couple of degrees difference. We're not talking like, from 900 degrees up to like 2000 degrees Celsius. It's nothing crazy like that. It's just minimal. But remember, all the EGR is there for is to help reduce NOx. And I know the world's getting in a hell of a state and we shouldn't be doing these kind of things, but I don't know. It's like, I don't want to have to put a new engine in my car. I don't want everything to knack up. I don't want to have to... And the way I look at it is, yeah, you might be reducing NOx, but if you're using less fuel, it's 50-50, isn't it, I suppose? So it's up to everybody's opinion. If you don't want to blank your EGR and you want to keep it on, leave it on. If you do. It's your own car. And for MOT reasons, you're perfectly fine, because in some cases, if you totally remove an EGR valve as an MOT tester and you notice it's been tampered with, i.e. if there's a pipe off with a bolt in, if it's removed altogether, which you can do on some cars, yes, that's an MOT fail. But in this case, it's just a little cable plugged into the mass airflow meter. No MOT tester is going to know. And if they did know, I don't know what grounds you would have to fail it, because what's been plugged into the MAF sensor is at the complete opposite end of the engine to the EGR valve, so I don't even know if you could fail it on that. And I'm an MOT tester myself, so I think you'll be pushing the boundaries for that. And emissions, remember, diesels aren't like petrols where they go through a gas test. Diesel is just a smoke test. You put the probe in the exhaust, you rev the engine, job done. So as long as you don't remove your DPF, you'll be fine. So I'll leave it at that. Sorry I had to add this bit on to the end. I'm not very good with my phone for editing things, so this is just going to have to remain at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Bye.